Okay, let's talk about the New York Giants, who quite frankly have been a team that I have criticized very heavily since I've had this YouTube channel for the past 5 years. A lot of Giants fans have called me a hater, saying I, must have a personal vendetta against this team. I truly don't. I feel no way negative or positive towards them. I just think I have a personal vendetta to bad decision making, which I think the Giants have possessed a lot lately. However, I would say they're in a slightly better situation this time than they've been in previous times. I still have some criticisms that we'll get into, but I do think there are ways for the Giants to move forward in a way we haven't seen in previous years with this organization. We can start with this chart. This is where they rank in positional categories according to PFF, and it's quite frankly brutal. There is only one position where they're not in the bottom 10. That is pass rush, which they're admittedly very good at, 7th best, and that was with Dexter Lawrence going down with an injury, kind of 2/3 of the way through the year. So having him healthy would probably be better than 7th. So you at least have a thing you're good at, and they paid a lot of money to be good at that, but they've been successful there. Obviously, pretty much everywhere else across the board, they're a bit of a mess, and I actually wonder to some degree if them winning that meaningless game and having a 3rd overall draft pick, if that could have potentially saved them to some degree. If they did draft a quarterback, they would really be throwing him into the fire, and if I'm honest, if I'm the Giants, even if a quarterback falls at 3, I might trade back and try and just get more talent, because this team just has so many holes right now. As for cap space, it's a little better than we've seen it be. Now, the Giants, again, for those numbers I showed you, only having $43 million in cap space doesn't feel great. But at the same time, it's $141 million that they have in cap space the next year, and we've seen in the past, there were years where I'm looking at this Giants roster and saying, yeah, it's tough, and then they have negative in cap space as well. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Here, they at least seem to be moving in the right direction, which is what you like to see if you're a Giants fan. So that's what you want, and there isn't a ton of key free agents they have to sign or anything like that. You have Darius Slayton and Azeez Ojulari, who are guys that I think they would maybe like to keep in the building, but as a whole, don't necessarily need to keep in the building. If they have to walk, they have to walk. Although, again, given the way the Giants fans have seen some of their good players leaving free agency and be awesome with other teams, maybe they don't even want to risk it anymore. Let's just keep guys in the building. I don't know. Maybe, you know how when a team wins a Super Bowl, it feels like their free agents always get extra money because they won a Super Bowl. Could the Giants get that just because of how good Xavier McKinney and Saquon Barkley played when they left? I don't know. Probably not. But yeah, those are a couple guys. The number next to them is how many millions they'd be projected to get. You could sign them if you want to, or you can move elsewhere. Again, they have cap space this year. As for their draft capital, they're okay here. I mean, it may be a little bit underwhelming. Again, they are going to be picking 3rd in each round, so that's good. Except for the 5th round, the reason why I put an asterisk there is because they traded with that in that round, so they're picking later than 3rd in that round. Also, no 6th round pick, but they do have multiple 7ths, so okay. A little bit less draft capital than you want, but nothing horrible here. So this may be a shorter video than most because that's kind of where they're at. I mean, there's not a ton of great situations that they're in. They really, one big thing that can help them this year is just for another year to pass, right? Getting to that point where you have over $140 million in cap space. I think what you have to do if you're the Giants is no more of this Brian Burns trade stuff. I know he's a good player and he's helped you, but let's not give away draft capital and pay a bunch of money for someone who's a good player, but you need more than just one good player right now. That's kind of the move you make when you're going all in, I think. They have to get back to the basics, in my opinion, and just focus on drafting well. And you know what? If you're picking 3rd overall, maybe just say, let's just get a great prospect who's probably going to be a really good player. Doesn't always work out. Evan Neal was supposed to be a great prospect. That was probably going to be a good player. That hasn't fully worked out, right? You have those issues. But you know what? Just go out and get someone good. Start drafting better. That's the way you can build this thing back up. Get a core of star players. I don't think there's a great free agent player that could be part of your core for a while. But honestly, if T. Higgins is available, I wouldn't hate spending money on him. You're not giving up draft capital, and he could be a player. He's still young that could work for a while, right? And you could argue Brian Burns is that to some degree as well. So maybe it's unfair to criticize that too much. But to be honest, what I would do if I'm the Giants would be really focus on building for the future. Really focus on just trying to get more talent. Find ways to get talent, and don't go crazy trying to get stars because you're quite frankly too far away from that anyway. What I would personally do though, when it comes to just constructing a team in general, is okay. I don't think you're going to get a quarterback. Maybe you could get a quarterback, but if you do get a quarterback, he's going to be thrown into the fire. And in fact, if one of the quarterbacks falls to 3, I trade that pick back. I make sure I can try and build up an offense. That would be my main focus. Trying to get the offense good, which they really haven't done a great job of for a while now. I mean, since Eli is there, really, is the last time we've seen them have an actively good offensive supporting cast. Because before you get a good quarterback there, you have to make sure you're not throwing them into the fire. I think what I do is I try to build the supporting cast, get a decent offense, and then you can add a quarterback. And I don't even hate the idea of drafting a quarterback in like round 4 of this draft or anything, to then hopefully, you get the offense under control, and then you can, can build for the future. Because as of right now, okay, that's great. You have a great pass rush. Like, that does help, and like it is very good. But that alone isn't moving the needle enough for you as a franchise. So that's kind of how I see all of this. And there is always the thing too of like, do you just try and I'm going to throw something out there that Giants fans will hate, but hey, I give my opinion. Do you consider a Dexter Lawrence trade or something like that? Dexter Lawrence is an awesome player, and I know I said you need to keep good players on your roster, but you could get multiple first-round picks for him. Do you do something like that, kind of you're similar to like the Matthew Stafford trade, of trying to just get worse so that you can get better? Although there isn't a lot of ways to get worse. Maybe you just say, hey, let's not get rid of the few players good players we do have. At the end of the day, though, they need to consistently be getting more good players in the building. And the main way you do that is through the draft. And probably don't let guys like Xavier McKinney and Saquon Barkley in hindsight just leave for nothing. If they're going to leave, trade them. So, yeah, that's kind of my main thoughts on the Giants, who are they're in a tough spot right now. There's no getting around it. But like I said, I do think there actually is reason for optimism with the Giants, because they have kind of for the first time, I feel like you're looking forward and saying, hey, they do have cap space. They do have, draft picks. Like, this is something they can do to move forward. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Again, I hope it goes well. Like, I want to see the Giants start to get a little better. But yeah, I think they need to be a little slower here. Don't try to fast track this, is how I would view it. But those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.